Hello, welcome to the show, 15 Minutes of Fame with Dawn Branch. I'd like to say thank you to my sponsors, twinkletoesapparel.com in Georgia. These wonderful sandals that say Twinkle Toes. And they also have leotards and tights, all the wonderful accessories, even charcoal pouches that you can place into your dance bag. We have a new sponsor tonight, Spirit and the Word Ministries. My friend Pastor Herrera and his lovely wife, Minister Kim Herrera. They gave me this wonderful bag. Isn't it nice? So I'll put my dance stuff in here. Put my choco. Look, leotards. Well, I'm not wearing leotards, but you know what I mean. My dance stuff. Thank you, Spirit and the Word Ministries, and thank you for watching the show. Hi. 15 Minutes of Fame is looking for you. So if you're an industry professional and you want to share your journey, contact me at dawnbranchworks@gmail.com and we'll get your story shared right away. Thank you.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to 15 Minutes of Fame with Dawn Branch, where we bring industry professionals into your home where they share their secrets of their journey of their success. Tonight's guest is my little sister, Amanda Standard. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
So, audience, I have not seen my sister in many, many years. We communicate social media, but I haven't had a chance to communicate with her like this. So I'm really excited and thank you for doing the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
Yes. Now you were in Capitol Heights, is that right, Maryland?
Capitol Heights, Maryland. And that is 20 minutes away from DC and 20 minutes away from 30 minutes away from Baltimore. So we're like right in the middle.
Yes. So our guest, Miss Standard, Mrs. Standard, she is a woman of God. She's a dancer, an artist, a business person, a dance educator, mom, wife. Anything else I'm missing?
Just a lot. A lot of titles,
Yes.
a lot of titles. But
Yes.
all service, all service.
All service. So aside from all of those accolades, who is Amanda, the let's say the inner person? Aside from all those things, talk to us about who you are.
I guess the greatest definition that I can give for myself is number one, a servant. And that servanthood is undergirded by compassion. And the simplest way to put it would be from the Robots movie, see a need, fill a need. That's really been the thrust, I think, of everything that I do as an educator, as a mom, taking care of my dad, here with the organizations, in the school system. Everything is, if you see a need, you want to fulfill that need. So I think that that's the best definition of who I am, because that's what fuels whatever it is that I do. And then everything else kind of comes, next to it. So I'm artistic and I'm passionate because there's a need, and I want to have the answer to that question, or I want to be the answer to that question, or guide somebody to the answer, that they need. So yeah, it's the same thing. See a need, fill a need.
Yes, I love that answer. And audience, she has a beautiful school, Divine Dance Institute, which we're going to talk about later on in the show. So I met you in New York. So let's just go back, take it back. Let's talk about your formative years in dance and how that all happened and who was the first person to say, maybe she got something.
I had an interesting journey. My mom, my parents are from the West Indies, but they met in England. So I was actually born in Edmonton, London, England.
Wonderful. Can we get an accent real quick?
Oh, would you like a cup of tea?
Yes.
The kids love when I do that. They go, "How do you know how to do that?" And I go, "Well, I was born there." But so they got married there. My dad was a blind date. They got married. My father's from Barbados. My mom's from Trinidad. She was in nursing school, and he was doing automotive technology. And then they brought me back to the States when I was 6 months of age. And then I used to go back every 2 years or so, because that's what people do with their children. They send them away in the summertime because that's what they do, which was really good because it gave me an opportunity to experience things that, unfortunately, we try to do that now, but it doesn't work out the same way. And I always wonder how my mom would just let us go away for so long. It was just like, wow. But when it came to the art form, she was of the thought that children had to be busy. They always had to have something to do. So I started dancing. We started dance classes at 2.5. And I was a part of Fournier Grego in Brooklyn. And I was there for most of my youth. I left for a year when we moved to Queens, because we used to live in Brooklyn. So I left for a year when we moved to Queens. We went to Billy Trial. It didn't work.
No, explain to the audience what that is, because I don't even know what that is.
It was a dance studio in Queens.
Okay.
On Merrick Boulevard. And they were trying to find some place for us to dance that was closer to home. It didn't work. And my father said, take them back to Brooklyn because you don't know what they're doing. So I went back to Brooklyn. And when I went back to Brooklyn, I was about 10 or 11. And that was when the turn for me as an artist, that's when that really started to be cultivated. So I was a part of the company called Kids to Go. And we were singing and we were dancing and we were acting. And we were at Studio 54. That was really major. It was the Red Shoe Project, and Kids to Go was there. And we danced and sang. And Kevin Iega Jeff was my teacher for modern. And everybody else had all of this shine for Music in the Mirror. And I don't know if you know, at that part in the breakdown of Music in the Mirror, where it goes, ta-da, boom, boom. Mm-hmm. He had us contracting, release, contract, release. And I was like, I didn't know people could dance like that to music. Like it was a different kind of passion. And Iega really, he liked the switch. He hit the switch for, what dance really, really meant. And so that was like when I was around 11. And so when I was around 11, 12, it's like, you should audition for high school performing arts. And by that time I was back going to school in Brooklyn. And so I auditioned for performing arts. And so that just kind of from there.
Okay. All right. So let me just recap a minute, because I had no idea about this. You talked about parents sending their children away for 6 months. Now you mentioned you're a mom.
6 weeks.
Is that something that 6 weeks? Is that something that you thought you still did with your son? Did you follow that path? And
no.
No.
I couldn't even imagine.
Okay.
He was like my little man, he's not little anymore. He's giant. But I couldn't imagine that. So of course he's a graduating senior, and I'm trying to figure out how are you going to do this going away to college thing, because
right.
he wants to go away, and I'm not going to take that, that opportunity from him, because he needs to go and grow. But it's definitely going to be a huge transition for me, because it's my guy.
He's your guy you did not let him go. Okay, I was just wondering about that. And then the whole thing with Brooklyn and Kids to Go, is that the name of the
Yeah.
company?
Well, the school was the Performance Center,
Okay.
Hal Brigo and Bob Fournier.
Okay.
And Iega was my teacher there, and Linda Spriggs, and
Oh, wow.
there was a couple of folks, Kathleen Sumler Turner. I had all these great, amazing people that just were like, hit the switch.
Yes. Well, this is why I actually wore this shirt, Deeply Rooted. Iega was my teacher as well, but I knew that you and he have this wonderful bond and connection because I follow you. So I wanted to honor the both of you and wear this shirt.
Yes,
So
my
Go
dance
Deeply
dad.
Rooted. Yes,
Yes.
your dance dad. But we'll talk about him later because I know you have photos that you sent to me that we're going to share. It's just amazing. Okay, so that's where you met Iega. Now I thought you met when you met him at Bernice Johnson. So this is interesting. So he told you about performing arts. So you end up going to performing arts. Now, who did your audition, and do you remember what it was? And do you remember your class, like who auditioned with you?
Oh, so just quickly, Iega lived down the street from me. I just didn't know.
Shut up.
Yeah, he lived really in the same neighborhood. And one day, but by the time I went to LaGuardia, that's when I went to Bernice Johnson. That's when I left Brooklyn and went to Bernice Johnson. So it was really, I think that's part of it, because he really is like the dance dad. He's like down the street, you know. My audition, I don't think I had the confidence for it, but he definitely said you should do it. You should do it. And my number was Z20.
Shut up, you remember that? How? Oh God.
Yeah, and I auditioned at the old building.
Yes.
But I used to say every time we had a recital at Lincoln Center, because we had our recitals at A.B. Fisher Hall, I used to say, I'm going to this school, because they were building it forever. And I would tell my mom, I'm not going anywhere else, I'm going to schools. Because when we were growing up, everybody wanted you to do tech and Brooklyn Tech. It was the three schools, Stuyvesant, Tech, and I can't remember the one in the middle. But they would try to get you to do that. And I was like, no, I want to dance.
Right. And so 1 second, for the audience that is not familiar, Lincoln Center is a huge performing arts center. It's like the top of the line of dance concert halls, aside from Carnegie Hall, Radio City. Right. But with Bernice Johnson, from an age of like 6, we were doing our dance recitals at this huge, huge establishment. Across the street, guys, that's what she's referring to. They were building what is now LaGuardia High School. So yes, yeah. Okay.
So it was interesting. So when I got in, it was a big thing, because at my school, I was at Satellite West Junior High School, and nobody else that year got in for dance.
Shut up. Right.
Yeah, because it wasn't a thing, you know, for that particular school. Yeah. And it was good for me to be
How so? How so?
Because I was bullied in middle school, and because I wasn't from that part of Brooklyn, that area. And so, you know, when you can't get in, it's difficult to fit in. And so I was still a visitor, if you will. And I mean, kids are kids. It's interesting though, there were some kids that got in for visual art and for music. And so we were in high school together, and we really, really connected, you know, over the years. But in middle school, it was just different. So it was really good for me to be able to do that, because I was very, very, had very low self-esteem. And I was so concerned about what people thought about what I could do that I minimized what I could do, or what I could be or become. I didn't see it, didn't have a vision for it, because it was just layered with so much of what you can't do, or you don't dress like we dress, because, you know, it was Lee's and Izod's. You know, my mother was not going to buy that. You know, you have to have a different one every day. So just those things in hindsight. So it was a highlight for me to be able to get there. And then of course you see the movie. I just knew I was going to be the Debbie Allen for Jesus. I was like,
And you have become that, which we're going to get to. And I am so ever proud of you. I want, because this is a teaching platform, Miss Amanda, I want to touch upon bullying. I have some students that watch the show. I was bullied. I'm sure many students were. What advice would you give to both parties? Because it takes two. There's the bully and there's the person that's being bullied. What advice would you give a young artist dealing with that, and advice for the ones that are the bully but may not recognize that they are?
well, most of the time, the people who are the perpetrators, that's a mask.
Yeah.
And usually when we are not happy with who we are, we reflect that or deflect it on others. So for my advice for the person who may or may not realize that they are bullying is that, are you willing to just stop and check and see if you really understand who you are? And right now, adults and youth suffering from an identity crisis. We have not figured out where we fit in the scheme of things because we don't know who we are. And that's because we refuse to connect to whose we are. And so where the fuel comes in order to fill the gaps, we haven't allowed ourselves to submit to that as a truth.
That's where you met Iega. Now, I thought you met when you met him at Bernice Johnson. So this is interesting. So he told you about performing arts. So you end up going to performing arts. Now, who did your audition? And do you remember what it was? And do you remember your class, like who auditioned with you?
Oh, so just quickly, Iega lived down the street from me. I just didn't know.
Shut up.
Yeah, he lived really in the same neighborhood. And one day, but by the time I went to LaGuardia, that's when I went to Bernice Johnson. That's when I left Brooklyn and went to Bernice Johnson. So it was really, I think that's part of it, because he really is like the dance dad. He's like down the street, you know. My audition, I don't think I had the confidence for it, but he definitely said you should do it. You should do it. And my number was Z20.
Shut up, you remember that? How? Oh gosh.
Yeah, and I auditioned at the old building.
Yes.
But I used to say every time we had a recital at Lincoln Center, because we had our recitals at A.B. Fisher Hall, I used to say, I'm going to this school, because they were building it forever. And I would tell my mom, I'm not going anywhere else, I'm going to schools. Because when we were growing up, everybody wanted you to do tech and Brooklyn Tech. It was the three schools, Stuyvesant, Tech, and I can't remember the one in the middle. But they would try to get you to do that. And I was like, no, I want to dance.
Right.
And,
so 1 second, for the audience that is not familiar, Lincoln Center is a huge performing arts center. It's like the top of the line of dance concert halls, aside from Carnegie Hall, Radio City.
Right.
But with Bernice Johnson, from an age of like 6, we were doing our dance recitals at this huge, huge establishment. Across the street, guys, that's what she's referring to. They were building what is now LaGuardia High School. So yes, yeah. Okay.
So it was interesting. So when I got in, it was a big thing, because at my school, I was at Satellite West Junior High School, and nobody else that year got in for dance.
Shut up. Right.
Yeah, because it wasn't a thing, you know, for that particular
right.
school.
Yeah.
And it was good for me to be
How
able
so?
to
How so?
Because I was bullied in middle school, and because I wasn't from that part of Brooklyn, that area. And so, you know, when you can't get in, it's difficult to fit in. And so I was still a visitor, if you will. And I mean, kids are kids. it's interesting though, there were some kids that got in for visual art and for music. And so we were in high school together and we really, really connected, over the years. But in middle school, it was just different. So it was really good for me to be able to do that because I was very, very, had very low self-esteem, And I was so concerned about what people thought about what I could do that I minimized what I could do or what I could be or become. I didn't see it, didn't have a vision for it because it was just layered with so much of what you can't do or you don't dress like we dress. Because, it was Lee's and Izod's, my mother was not going to buy that, you have to have a different one every day. So just those things in hindsight. So it was a highlight for me to be able to get there. And then of course you see the movie. I just knew I was going to be the Debbie Allen for Jesus. I was like,
And you have become that, which we're going to get to. And I am so ever proud of you. Because this is a teaching platform, Miss Amanda, I want to touch upon bullying. I have some students that watch the show. I was bullied. I'm sure many students were. What advice would you give to both parties? Because it takes two. There's the bully and there's the person that's being bullied. What advice would you give a young artist dealing with that, and advice for the ones that are the bully but may not recognize that they are?
Well, most of the time, the people who are the perpetrators, that's a mask.
Yeah.
And usually when we are not happy with who we are, we reflect that or deflect it on others. So my advice for the person who may or may not realize that they are bullying is that, are you willing to just stop and check and see if you really understand who you are? And right now, adults and youth suffering from an identity crisis. We have not figured out where we fit in the scheme of things because we don't know who we are. And that's because we refuse to connect to whose we are. And so where the fuel comes in order to fill the gaps, we haven't allowed ourselves to submit to that as a truth. But ultimately, you can't fix something that you didn't create. So you have to go to the manufacturer and say, hey, what do I need to do to get this to work the way that it needs to work? And all too often, because we can't see the manufacturer, we don't trust them. And so that's the best advice for the one who is perpetrating the negative behavior. And then for the person that is the victim, all too often we teach people how to treat us. And so if we don't trust or understand who we are, and if we don't understand our why and why we're an asset and not a liability for somebody who was bullied, I think that if I would have had a better understanding of why I was valuable and why I was worthy, and that I did have something to offer, I believe that I would have been less inclined to just receive certain behaviors from people. The other thing is there's so much trauma that people are going through that we don't know about. And so my susceptibility to bullying came because I was dealing with other stuff that in the family you don't talk about. And so you just like, hindsight, it has made it so that I'm keener in when I'm working with children, because now discerning what I see, and then instead of unearthing whatever it is, just providing solutions and pathways so that they can have a better understanding of who they are, that what they have to offer is valuable. Everybody has a fingerprint. Nobody has what you have, and you have to be who God called you to be. And we blend so that we can function in optimum. All too often we're competing instead of collaborating. And so I think for those who are being bullied, if they could be more confident in who they are, then they'll be less inclined to receive certain behavior. They'll be able to stand for themselves, but you won't
Mhm.
you won't stand if you don't believe you have something to stand on. And
Okay.
the circles that people are involved in have to feed that kind of positivity. And that's what the arts does, or it should.
Mhm.
Because if we're in the right environment, you cultivate creativity, but it also fortifies your foundation. It gives you the strength to be able to withstand whatever comes your way. So if somebody tells you what you're not, you have a place to go to where they say, no, they lying. You really are, and that's
Yeah.
extraordinarily helpful, even especially if it's even beyond your family, your immediate family. When you have an extended family, which is what happens in the arts, when we branch out, that becomes our extended family. That's one of the things that I know that has helped a lot of people when they're with the right people, because it just helps them to be able to circumvent some of those things that would have otherwise torn them down.
Wow. Thank you for that. And I just want to let you know the connection that you and I have is something that you don't realize. I'm going to share with you right now. We mentioned we were both bullied, right? Tears. So you had so much to offer. And I'm going to tell you, you offered to me your magnificent smile. And let me tell you what I mean by that. Coming from LaGuardia and being bullied on the train and coming to Bernice Johnson. And remember how we used to stand outside and wait for the class to start? You might not remember this. You would greet me with a smile. Hi, Dawn. Hi, Dawn. And I would wait to see the smile, because from that walk from 169th Street to Bernice Johnson and to see a friendly face, and you would always outside. Remember, we were outside playing jacks or doing whatever. You were always so nice to me. And you always do that beautiful smile. And that would warm my heart. So you had something to offer. You didn't realize it, but what you gave to me was a sense of peace before I went into that building. And that's what I wanted to share with you. And that's why I was like, I don't want to talk off camera. I don't want to talk. Like, I wanted it to be authentic and real. And I wanted you to know that's why I follow you still. Right? You're
Wow.
like, how did you know? Because you helped me with a smile. With a smile. So I thank you for that. Yep. Yes. So moving. Okay, everybody. Sorry. So that's
Oh,
fine. So thank you for that. So, all right. Anything else you want to talk about with high school? Oh yeah, I want to ask you.
you got me messed up and you want to ask me.
Yes, because like, yes. In your class, right? We're gonna talk about. We talked about who did your dance and all that. Who is famous in your class that you grew up with, and who is ahead of you or behind you in high school performing arts that have gone on to do like famous things, whatever?
Oh my gosh, really?
How many, right? I love our school, high school performing arts.
Yeah, when we say LAG, it's like,
Right.
well, my class was the first graduating class of the new building, which is a highlight for everybody. Um, and I don't think I realized until this year how long ago that was. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, wow. Um, that I can think off the top of my head, Ty Jimenez, she was at DTH for a minute. I know she was at Boston Conservatory. I have a
Yes.
poster at
Shout out
school.
to Ty. Yes, she's
Yeah,
fabulous. Miss
she's
Hal Jackson, talented team. Remember that? She's one.
wow, yeah. Oh my God.
Yes. Yes, that's going way back. Okay.
Yeah. DeAndre, he was on one of the soaps for the longest time.
Oh,
I
DeAndre Whitfield, is that his name? What's
think
his name?
I can't remember his last name.
Yes.
So,
Yes, yes.
and then of course, he played Cole because
Oh,
we were all
Carl,
in
is it Carl Payne? Is that right?
Carl Payne because he
Yes.
in the theater department. Gosh, it's just so many people. Of course, Sean Baker's from
Yes, Sean and Tracy and
Wisconsin.
Andrea. Oh, shout out
Yeah.
to Andrea Fairweather. Look, Andrea Fairweather has a makeup line, right?
Wow.
And I wear Fairweather faces.
That's amazing. amazing.
Shout out to
Yeah.
Andrea. I'm telling you, I'm here to promote, to help people. Yes.
Dina Wright, Joseph.
Dina! Oh my God. Remember she used to date Carl Kanai? Oh my God. Oh, I'm telling everybody's business. I'm
There's
sorry.
so many people, they're singing, they're dancing, they're acting, they're just,
Troy Powell, shout out.
of course, he was
Right?
2 years ahead of me. Desmond was 2 years ahead.
Yeah, he
of
was in my class. All right, very
Lana
good.
is after me. Karen, my sister, is 4 years after me. Carrie is,
Carrie is
it's
crazy,
just a lot.
right?
Oh my goodness.
Lovely school. Lovely school. Okay. So now high school is over. Going out to HBCU. Howard, right?
Nope.
So how did you choose that school? And also, like, what was your major? And then I'm going to ask you if you would have done it differently, gone to a professional career aside from going to college, and what you would prefer, not prefer, but what you would suggest to young students today.
Well, again, different journey. I was always a thinker down the line. I always thought long term. And my statement was, what if I can't dance or I can't sing or I can't act? What will happen if something breaks? And I was looking for a backup, but still something that I loved. So I sang as a minor at LaGuardia. And but I was also the crazy person who took chemistry and physics and didn't have to. And so I ended up, I was thinking that I was going to do orthodontics. That was the first thing. Then no pediatrics, because I love children. And so that was my thought, pediatrics, because I can still dance, but I could do that too. And so when I went to Howard, I was a biology major with a concentration in microbiology.
Gosh.
And then I was a dance minor. So that I could, I probably spent more time in fine arts than I did in the Valley, but it was definitely a balancing act. And I said this in a video that I had to do on 9/11 about how I was between two worlds, and people thought that I was a weirdo because they were like, why didn't you just do the arts? Why didn't you just do the arts? And I was like, because the art is science. The science is the study of what God has already done. We're just trying to figure it out. But of course I sound like a Looney Tune then, but now people are getting degrees in the thing that I was thinking, which is arts integration. So it was a different way to get around it. And eventually I didn't go into medicine because I didn't want to spend 10 years taking those same classes again. I just didn't want to do that. And so that's when I figured out that my calling wasn't necessarily to be the doctor, because my compassion would make me cry with my patients, which would defeat the purpose. So I needed to teach them. And most kids hate science. And so I wanted to turn science into the best show in town. And that's
love
what
that. I love that.
I did. So I still, everybody knows, all the kids know. And it's been amazing because I have now been an example for students that they can do more than just their art form. They're not limited. They can be a pediatrician and a dancer. They have the ability to expand that way. You have time. Make use of all of your moments. Make use of all of your gifts. So in hindsight, am I saying, should I have gone to the company? There was something else I was reaching for that I couldn't see myself doing as an 18-year-old in a professional dance company. But because I couldn't articulate it, I needed to be able to go into additional education so that I could figure out my fit. and I have an odd fit.
Mhm.
Odd because it was just different from the pathways that people were normally taking at that time. And so in hindsight, I'm like, I could have done this, but then I would have missed the opportunity to see the marriage between the art and the science and to be able to share that as a gift with so many. So when I'm teaching anatomy, man, it's a whole different ball game. We're not just talking about muscles, we're putting them into action. And then our muscles start talking. So we can have a whole dramatic presentation, song, dancing, song, dance, and acting, just based on how your gastrocnemius and your soleus works. And it's
Yes.
just, and then to watch kindergarten and first grade and second grade, and they're spilling out these words to their parents, and their parents are like, "What did you just say?" I said, "My gastrocnemius."
Yeah.
So being at Howard, it was a rich experience because I was a part of the Caribbean Student Association. I was considered international because I was born out of the country. And at LaGuardia, we have everybody at school. Well, here at Howard, it was just the culture.
Yes.
And so what is that? And so it gave me an opportunity to just learn about how we are the good, the bad, and the ugly. And then how to reach a population that sometimes feels like they're unreachable because of everything that we have suffered through time, and then how do you use your art to speak from the heart?
Right.
So yeah, that was definitely, I modeled at Howard. If I didn't go to Howard, I probably wouldn't have done that anywhere else. So many things that I
So
did.
speaking of the culture, did you pledge? Were you a pledge?
No,
You did
I
not do
didn't,
that.
because at the time I said, "Oh, nobody's hazing me. I pledge my life to Christ. That's enough."
Amen.
At that time, that's what I was, saying. I see the benefits of the connectivity. I see the value of it just then because of how it was then. I don't think that my character would have been able to withstand that kind of work.
Yes. You're so funny. Okay. So now, so you graduate from Howard and you say, I'm not going to be a doctor, and you end up getting an advanced degree in education. So when you're referring to your students, you also have your dance studio students that you feed into, but you also are an educator in the public school system. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, right now I am my journey. I taught at Bowie High School, and that was earth science and biology. Then I left there and went to Fairmount Heights High School because they were going to make the teachers responsible for the grades that the kids got on the high school assessments. And I was like, "Oh, no, you're not doing that to me. I'm teaching." So we decided we were going to move into dance finally in the school system. I taught private school before I was in the public school, and that was kindergarten in the Christian Academy. Then went to high school, left high school, was teaching dance, and now I'm in a middle school that's a CVPA, so it's Creative and Performing Arts School.
Nice.
And I've been there 11 years. And the best thing that I can say that I have experienced is just watching the generations grow, looking at what Gen Z needs versus Gen Alpha, the differences. And right now, just teaching people how to use what they have in order to be able to navigate through these different waters that we're in. Because this is a very, very different time. And you couldn't have told me 25 years ago that we would see this in our lifetime. This is very, very different. So using the art to help people to fortify their foundation has been my goal, I want to say, since I've been at Benjamin Floyd. So there's social and emotional supports. That's what we do through dance. They just don't realize it.
Yeah. I love how it's like a feeder program also into your school, just on the business end of it. I'm just gonna ask, do you have like a van? Like out here where we are in Florida, they have like a van at the school that would take the kids to the dance studio. Is your corporation set up that way as well?
We have that, but I will be honest with you, because we don't do competition,
Hmm.
we don't get the same kind of traffic.
I see. Is there a
Which is,
reason you don't do competition aside from I probably spiritually understand why you don't do competition?
well,
Um,
when I used to teach at, studios in the area, and I used to do choreography for competition, and I would go to the competition to support my kids. I just didn't like how they left if they didn't win.
right.
Um, I didn't feel like it helped them to be their best selves. I know all competitions can't be bad, if you will,
Hmm.
but I
Hmm.
just didn't see where that was as necessary as them having a performance opportunity that they can build and they can learn, they can grow from. So we have an ensemble and they dance everywhere,
Right. Right.
but and we have many people who go on and moved into the professional world as far as the art form is concerned. They're amazing choreographers, dancers, teachers, and the like. But did they need
Hmm.
to compete in order to be able to get to that promise? No, they didn't have
Hmm.
to. Because you have a natural competition anyway when it comes to the art form. So what they learn here is that you're not better, you're just different. And
Hmm.
how about you highlight your difference and watch how that difference blends with others? And it makes for such an amazing environment where people can be drawn and they can feel supported and they can still grow. And that's so I didn't get that from a competition setting. But
Hmm.
remember, we're not evolving. So what people are
Hmm.
doing in competition, in some competitions now, that was unheard of 10, 15 years ago. I saw kids crying
Yeah.
and they didn't get a trophy and whatnot. Now people just buy the trophies for their kids and stuff. There's some stuff going on, and I just didn't want to get into that, um,
Hmm.
because I feel like you can just gain so much from the performance opportunity without having to feel like you won over that group. How about
Hmm.
whatever you brought was so special that you're memorable and they're memorable too, because they
Right.
touched part of a person and you touched another part of a person. So that's what we promote here. So I know we've had after school, the summer program.
Hmm.
Um, we've had intensives for students who desire to move in a professional vein. Everybody's come to teach. Everybody has come to teach. Aiga has been here doing all
I
this.
have not been there to come to teach,
But
just
we can just
saying.
add you to the roster.
Ah,
You know, everybody comes and they love the environment. And it's not 30, 40, 50 people, 12, 13. Oh, but those 12 or 13, they just fire because they're
well,
passionate.
I'm sorry. I want to give you the flowers. So Aiga came, Obadiah came. Who else has come from BJ's?
Oh,
Let's just say.
oh my goodness. Karen has been here over the years. Brian, oh, it's a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah.
Up and down. Steve Rooks, Claude Alexander from Dallas Black, Xavier Mack. Oh, that's a lot. Freddie Moore.
Wonderful. Yes, I always see him on your Facebook. Yes.
Um, and then Matthew Rushing did a talk back for us the other day. I mean, in the summer, it was amazing. The kids still
Yes.
remember. He said, comparison is a calling killer.
Oh,
Took us out of here. Took us out of here. So it is definitely Hope Boykin, of course, because we were at Howard together. Yeah, it's just been, we just have a lot of amazing connections to amazing
hmm.
people. Camille Brown.
Yes, Miss Brown. Oh, yes. Give the flowers. Give the flowers. And I want
Yeah.
to just tell you really quick. I forgot to mention earlier. Jamel Gaines said hello. I was on the phone with him today. And then someone else that I want to talk about, shout out to Bernice Johnson person, Charles Chucky X. I'm not sure if you caught the
Yay!
episode. I'm going to send it to you, but he just did 15 Minutes of Fame last week. And thank you, Sir Charles Chucky X. But I wanted to say thank you so much. Look what he gave me, Amanda. A beautiful Louis Vuitton
Yes.
bag. He is classy, honey. Yes, I want to
Yes.
say thank you, Charles Checky Epps. He's amazing. So thank you for that. So you
Awesome.
could bring him down too. Yes, we love
Yep.
it. Okay,
Yes.
so highlight that. So thank you, everyone. Okay, so wait, where are we? Oh my gosh. Okay, I get excited. International Association of Blacks in Dance and Go. Yes, yes.
Yeah. Adrian Vincent James, who was the first African American male ballet dancer for the Houston Ballet, is the one that got me teaching dance all over this area. Yeah, it's his fault.
Wow, wow.
He was the one that actually told me. I met him at Howard. He was my teacher at Howard. And then he was like, you can dance. You need to be a DC Gypsy. As Erica Vaughn, I don't know if you know Erica.
That's my friend. Yes,
Yes.
she was on the
So
show.
Erica was like, she is my big sister at Howard. And she just made sure, no, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. And so she was like, you need to hook up with him. And so wherever Adrian needed a sub, he was like, Amanda, I need you to go sub for me. And so that's how I ended up, just becoming connected in the area. And he was the one that connected me to IABD. So I was dancing at Howard, but Sherelle Berryman Johnson was the person that was the chairperson at IABD. She was the one that really, really worked on pulling this thing together. She's not the founder, but she was really instrumental in pulling, it together and working really, really hard in getting the dance major at Howard. So I was the preliminary group, the ensemble that built towards the dance major. So so IABD was a huge part of that. So that participating and connecting and networking and just really being around people who they have the sauce.
Mm-hmm.
They just got the sauce.
Mm-hmm.
When you go, it is the biggest Black dance family reunion ever. You just stand there and you feel like you're on the red carpet of the art of dance. And when they come, you go, oh, I've been looking at them. And then you're introducing them to the kids, and the kids are like, oh my God, you know them, and then they get to see all of us on stage at one time. And it's just nights of concerts, and you just leave there, you just wringing dance out of the rag because you see it. And it's just really an amazing opportunity to make the connections to your culture through your art. And so it's a valuable organization. I am so glad that it's growing, it's glowing, it's shining the light on what people have been doing, and I'm just glad that funding has come through so that they can do more for organizations. You have the heart to do it, but you need the money to support your heart. And so, a lot of that has happened, especially through the pandemic. If nothing else, just keeping people focused on, you can do this, you can make it through, that kind of a thing. People sharing, their space and their support. It's been 30 years. I want to say I became a part somewhere around 2006, 2007. Yes, yeah, because I was pregnant in 2007. So yeah, I do definitely. So between 6 and 7 is when I actually joined the organization. And so I've been able to see its evolution, and I'm really excited about what it can do now and in the future to keep us growing as a culture through the art.
I have not gone yet, but however, I am planning to go. I've been invited several times, but it's just money. But I'm going to get there. I believe in faith. Yes, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Okay, Divine Dance Institute and Go. Let's go to your website. One moment, please. I'm so excited for you. Okay, let's see. Look at you. Okay, so talk briefly about your school. What was your mission? How did it start?
Well, To be honest with you, Divine Dance Institute started because I had a vision for a dance company. And that's when I was 17 years old. And when I was asked what did I want to do when I finished college, I said I wanted to have a dance company that had the technical prowess of Alvin Ailey, but their hearts were completely submitted to God. And
Yes.
understanding who created them with the gift and how they could touch people through it. And so God said, that's great, but you're going to have to start the school first, because you have to fuel that company. So you're going to have to train the artists to deliver the work, and you're going to have to train the atmosphere to receive it. And so in these last 20 years, that has been the work. And so Divine Dance Institute has been cycling and serving and cultivating. And in September of 2021, Sound Express Dance Company made its debut at the Kennedy Center on the Millennium Stage. And one of the apprentices for the company is my son, Samuel Standard. And so that's 32 years.
That's awesome. I have a video here of some of the work that you've done. But I'm setting this up. Tell the audience what this is about.
This is actually the last production that we did before the pandemic hit. So this was June 2019. And this is A Tale of Three Kings. And it talks about Saul, David, and Absalom. And one of the places, the niche that we fit and fill is telling these stories and this danceicle experience where you have dance telling the story and it's infused with song and theater. And we told this story, and I'm telling you, people finish learning, they go back and say, where's that in the Bible? I didn't know that was there. I'm like, child, let me tell you, that's the best book ever. So this is just a little snippet of what it was about.
Okay, awesome. Here we go. Yes, I love it. So exciting. Beautiful. So talk about choreography, inspiration, collaborations with all of that. How does all of that work?
I am definitely a big believer on dance composition, and the inspiration can come from a myriad of places. I teach that class, and giving people the understanding that it's more than just a song, but it's the why in the song. You can be inspired from how the music moves to what the music says. And there has to be a story, because right now where we are, we just don't need to be just pleased aesthetically. Our hearts need to be touched because of everything that we're dealing with. And if we're going to sit and watch anything, it has to touch us. It has to make us feel better about where we are and or educate. And art reaches and it teaches. And so when it comes to choreography, I don't want to put anything together that's just so that you can see just amazing bodies moving in the atmosphere. But I need people to see a story come alive and be transformative for their thought and then touch their heart.
Yes, and I'm sure that's exactly what has happened. Let me tell you, I just saw your son touch my heart in that fabulous attitude. Yes, Samuel. He touched the heart. So briefly, because we want to give a shout out. How long has he been dancing? And he's going to school. Let's just give him a little shout out. What's he up to?
Oh, Samuel David. Well, he is a graduating senior. He's at Bowie High School. He decided not to take the normal pathway. He's an amazing actor, amazing actor.
Oh, okay.
Sing, and his dancing is epic. He's a black belt in choreo. Oh gosh, he's a black belt.
Wow.
And he's going to attend North Carolina A&T.
Okay. My grandfather went to that school. Shout out.
Yeah, he wants to do mechanical engineering, and he's going to keep with his art. Eventually, we hope to see him on the red carpet because he's in somebody's film. But he had his one opportunity where he did background for When They See Us.
Oh, okay.
And so, we just hold on to that because he really is good. He really is good. And his inspiration when it comes to acting is Denzel. And one of the things that we know about Denzel Washington is that when he plays a character, he don't play the character, he becomes the character. And I believe that Sam has taken that on. And so even in his dance, when he transforms, he transforms. Yes. So it's a pleasure to see. He is the poster child, I guess, for this organization, because people feel like, well, you have to go to an art school in order to be a great artist. And my son proved that not to be true. But you do need the right support when you're going to move through the art. And so Divine Dance Institute has been that for him and given him all that he needs to be able to pursue what he wants to do as an artist. So that's really exciting and fulfilling.
Okay, so you are in Maryland with your school. What other genres of dance do you do? Quickly talk about your school and what you offer.
We teach everything: ballet, modern, tap, jazz, West African, dance composition, improvisation, stretch. We got adult classes, a very nice size adult population. And then people here learn how to practically apply all that they do technically to ministry. So if this is something that they want to do and do in excellence, present in excellence, they learn how to honor God with what they've been given in the gift of movement.
Awesome. Which segues us right into praise dance and worship dance and the flags. So audience, I've asked Miss Amanda to bring one of her flags so she can talk to us about it. And there's a history. It's not just a person flaring a flag around. It's a whole thing. So she's here to briefly educate us on worship dance.
Well, the thing is, most of the time people, when they see the pageantry, which is really what we are looking at, when you see the flags, when you see scarves, when you see people with streamers, all of those things are symbols. They have meaning. The colors have meaning. Why they go up when they go up, it has meaning. It's not just, oh, I want to see something that's pretty. My best example that I can give you very quickly is when the soldiers went to war, the first people out running was the one with the flag. And that was a symbol of who they were connected to and who they supported. And so when they put that flag down, it said, this is who controls this land. And so when you see the red, that's for the blood. When you see the gold, that's for glory. When you see purple, that's royalty. When you see white, that's purity. When you see blue, that's the divine. So you see all of these things happening at one time. When you see fire, you see fire. The painting right behind me, one of the students was an amazing choreographer and dancer. She painted this. And what she was given in this visual art piece, you can see moving in a flag simultaneously. So the ministry of movement, when you hear liturgical dance, people usually mess it up, the word up, but when you hear liturgical dance, that's your personal communion about God, with God, for God, through movement expressed in public. Liturgy is public work. It's your opportunity to be able to share what your beliefs are, your truths with others publicly. But if you don't have a private relationship with God, then whatever you express publicly is just another act. You want something that's going to be transparent as it relates to your relationship so that it guides people to truth. And so when you're moving with all of that coming from your heart, it's transformative for people. And no longer is it just a dance to gospel music, or is it just something that's spiritual, but you see an encounter, you see an intimacy that will cause you to say, geez, who is this God that this person is talking about? And so when it comes to worship, worship is ascribing worth to God. It's an intimate connection with your creator. And when you make a connection with the manufacturer, as I said before, then you get the tools that you need in order to be able to navigate through everything that you're doing. So what people have felt was a new form of dance. Dr. Johnson had me write about it back in 1999. This is not a new form of dance. It's not a lost tradition. It is a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle that people haven't realized. You've been moving all along. When you inhale and you exhale, you're moving. And if the Bible says, whatever you do with your hands, you do with all your might. You honor God when you give back to him what he gave to you in the first place. So your worship honors him because you honor him for being the gift giver. And he gets glory out of your life because you reflect your connection to his amazingness. And I praise is thanking him for what he's done, what he's doing, what he's going to do. Warfare is literally standing against those things that are evil with your light. You come against the darkness with your light. But what people don't realize is that darkness is just the absence of light. Mm-hmm. So that's why we walk in the light, you know, so, but we are also light. You know, light moves 186,000 miles per second. So if we would really manage what we've been gifted with, my goodness, we could change a lot of dark places, right? If we would collaborate and be that blinding light that would, you know, that would pierce the darkness. So when it comes to the ministry of movement, I venture not to title it. It's the ministry of movement, because to minister means to serve. And when you have an opportunity to offer what has been given to you and to properly prepare it so that it's palatable for people to be able to receive through their eyes, through their ears, and touch their heart, it will cause a transformation. And that's what we need, because in that transformation, you get a fortification of your foundation. And that's what enables you to be able to navigate through the chaos that we're living in. And so when you can't speak, your body can speak for you. And it's an opportunity to be able to do that. So we don't have the ministry dance portion. We learn all of the vocabulary so that you can apply it to what that service looks like, how it's presented.
Wonderful. Yeah, I just want to briefly give a shout out to Dr. Margot Blake. She was the first, she's out here with me in Orlando, shout out. And she was the first woman to introduce me to the flags and pretty much told me about what it's about. And yeah, it's huge. And when she put me on that track, I was like, oh, I get it. So yeah, so shout out to all the worship dancers or the Ministry of Movement. Yes. If anyone wants to get in contact with you about your school, about workshops, about learning how to praise dance in their church, how would they do that? What is your contact information?
That's easy. You can find on Instagram. I am Seed Planter. People ask me why, and I say because I plant seeds. And then for DDI, it's DDI Nation on IG. For Sound Expressed, it's Sound Expressed on IG. And then on Facebook, it's Divine Dance Institute. You can find us there. And of course, our website, divinedanceinstitute.com. But we're definitely easily accessible, and we are more than welcome, and we're warm because we understand that everybody needs a safe, supportive space to be and become. And that's what we want to offer. We want to be that lighthouse.
Okay. What's next for you? And then we'll go into your final wishes for anyone watching this show.
What's next? Well, Sound Express Dance Company, moving, we did the debut, and we were back on Kennedy Center stage December 24th. And this weekend they were supposed to do Public Playhouse. Of course, it's now virtual because of the pandemic, but it's exciting because they chose us to do the finale, to be the finale for the show. And that, yeah, the technical director said, you need to rest in that because we built this show, you know.
Yeah.
And with you guys knowing that you all would be the best group to close it out. And I thought that that was pretty, yeah, that was pretty amazing for me. Also, just because my son is a part
Is a part
of
of it.
something yeah, that what I was dreaming about when I was 17, and he's 17 now. So it's like, wow, I couldn't have planned that, you know. So that's what's next on the horizon. And then DDI is celebrating 20 years. And so the 20th celebration will be the concert, and production will be in July of this year. And then we're going to do an emerging artist, kind of like a Junior Bessie Awards for this area who have been just doing
fancy. Okay.
Yeah. I might have to call you to help me because it's going to be amazing. But people do amazing things, and like you say, they don't get their flowers. And I'm learning that moments matter. Yeah. So we want to make sure
this matters. Amanda matters to me. I stalked this woman. You have no idea. She's so busy. I have been harassing her for a whole year because I want to give you your flowers. I recognize what you do. I want to help. If I can help any way to bring you out to the masses, not that you're not already, but if I could do my little part to help, that's what I'm here for. Okay, so for final words for any emerging young artists out there.
Be true to what you're called to. Don't compare yourself to what anybody else has to offer. Like Matthew Rushing said, comparison is a calling killer. So believe in what this fingerprint has to offer. You're unique. Your DNA set up is for something specific in the earth, and allow God to pour into you what he's given to you so that you can be not just for others, but be who you called you to be. I think for anybody in any area, not just as artists, but just as people, be true to what God has called you to be, and don't feel like you have to be or become what you see somebody else doing, because we never really see the process. We only see the product, and the process is really the most valuable part of it, because then that's what helps you to appreciate the fullness of the product. So don't forsake the process trying to make it look like everybody else, because you might miss the moments that are important for your unique fingerprint.
You had me at fingerprint, girl. Let me tell you, we're going to call you Dr. Amanda Standard. Let me tell you, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your journey with us. I believe you're absolutely called to do what you're doing. You are. And I just pray and I know that someone is going to connect with this and you're going to help somebody. And that's what this is about. Thank you again, Dr. Amanda Standard. And thank you all for watching 15 Minutes of Fame with Dawn Branch. Thank you, and I'll see you next week. Thank you.